Here, everyone, welcome. It's an HSA day, and we are so pumped to talk with some HR professionals about what is happening. You know, HR professionals got it rough right now. There's no way to beat around the bush. We are in some rough times, some challenging times, one might say. And so we wanted to kind of get some really smart HR pros together and talk about really how recruitment, retention, benefits, how these things have shifted in the last year, especially in the last 6 months. And so I want to welcome my panel to the stage. Let's go ahead and introduce you. First, we have way on the end here, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Curtis Karn. Curtis is the Director of Talent Acquisition Strategy at Restaurant Technologies. Next, we have Jessica Shawn. Jessica Shawn is a Wexer. She is our HR business partner here at Wex. Welcome, Jessica. Finally, we have Amy Lammers. Amy is a compensation and benefits manager at American Crystal Sugar. Welcome. Well, suffice to say, it has been, I don't envy you. Let's just leave it at that. It has been a wild, I was talking to Johnny C. Taylor before, and he called it a turnover tsunami. I think it was the words that he used. There's the Great Resignation, whatever you want to call it. It's unprecedented times. I feel like we've used that word so many times, unprecedented, but here we are again talking about unprecedented times. And so I want to start our conversation just to get how's everyone doing? So what I would love to talk is like, how has this Great Resignation changed really the HR strategy? I know it's a broad question, but what does that mean to you and how has it affected you? Amy, let's start with you.
Okay, well, I think it's probably obvious for everybody, but for us anyway, recruitment obviously is a challenge, trying to get people in the door and then actually trying to get them to stay. So we've had to try to find different ways to try to get them to, be proactive and try to apply differently and try to engage them right away so they're not leaving the company. So,
an easy task, I'm sure. Easy task. Jessica, Curtis, what's your vibe?
I think we're really focused on trying to figure out the strategy, but at the same time trying to be strategic while trying to figure out the strategy. And a lot of time, being strategic means you have a lot of data that you can make decisions on. And we're still kind of in play there, right? Figuring out, well, we might have quantity, but do we have quality of applicants? Do they stick around? And that might be, a year or more before we can really evaluate those pieces. So it's a moving target, but it also makes it exciting times too.
Like a real-time pivot, strategize, strategery, right?
Lots of strategery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, 2021 was supposed to be better, right? We're supposed to be like, 2020 was the black hole. We're like, 2021 is going to be great. Now we're knocking on 2022, and it's like, we'll see what happens. But it's the case. It's very much, buyer, seller's market, whatever you want to say. It's in the applicant's hands right now. And so trying to do as much as you can to make it easy for them, help them along. Kind of everybody's got that white glove mentality now because if you get somebody in that's talented, you can't let them go.
Right.
I'm not afraid to grab onto somebody's leg as they're walking out and just try to bring them back in. But that's where we're at right now with it, and it's finding a way to connect with them quicker, making sure that you're talking about all the benefits that you have within your organization, painting the picture for the why it's good for them to work there, and then once they get there, backing that up.
Yeah, I feel like we need like a support group for all HR professionals right now because
we've needed that for years. Why is this like just coming to fruition
fair.
now? Now you guys finally feel it. Now you know what we're dealing with.
This is our time. This is our moment.
We're at the top.
Or the bottom.
At the bottom. I love it. So I appreciate. Oh, look at this, the sprinkles. So I love that we're doing good here. I love that, it's good to kind of get your vibe and feel, right? Like for how has it impacted you? But I want to like zoom in a little bit more. How has that impacted the way you recruit and the way you retain? Can you talk about some of the tactics or some of the strategies you're starting to employ to make it a bit more tangible for our listeners?
I think for us, our philosophy of recruiting has stayed the same. It's still employee at the center, right? That's our focus and goal. But trying to get above all the noise, because there's so many people that are putting the signs out, have the help wanted, need them. How do you differentiate yourself through all this noise and in this market to try and set yourself apart from the others, I think has been an interesting strategy play in trying to create that identity with so much going on.
Yeah, I think we've always had to source candidates and people, but right now it's so much. And again, it's getting above the noise. You guys probably are on LinkedIn. You're probably getting hit up daily on LinkedIn from us saying, hey, come work for us. And then again, it's painting that picture of what your organization has to offer. And you almost have to, on that sourcing side, get to know your candidate a little bit better because candidate A is going to be motivated by something different than candidate B. So again, showing what's in your arsenal that's going to appeal to that person at the point of time. So like recruiting is like sales. It's like 99% timing. I feel like it's got to be right place, right time, right person. And that's just getting harder to narrow in. So like it's leaving 99.9% timing now.
I would say similar as well. We're trying to find the right audience that would like to come work for us. Our campaign and our branding is trying to help with live the sweet life because we're Crystal Sugar. So we're just trying to find different ways to advertise. Again, social media is trying to hit that right market for us and try to get them engaged.
Yeah.
It's really funny. You talk like QR codes are back. It's like in recruiting and advertising, it's like anything's back. It's like, I'll put ads in the paper. I don't care anymore. Which
they don't even print it anymore.
Yeah, which is, it doesn't even matter, but it's like, we're willing to do it. It's like billboards. It's like, I will stand with a sandwich board and hand out flyers. Like, we're at that point again, like, trying to come up with ways, because it is so noisy. You have to make an impact.
So I don't want to, maybe I'm going to ask you to give away your secret sauce, but what's working? Like, how are newspapers working? What's working right now? Because I think as everyone's in the same boat and everyone's scratching and clawing, I compare it to like the housing market. It's a buyer's market or a seller's market, right? And right now it feels like a buyer's market in terms of employees kind of being, like I said, I've never felt so special in my life. People knocking on doors and like, hey, I'm a great employee, right? So how do you combat that? What's working? Have you found anything, any mediums, whether it's marketing mediums or dare I say today's all about benefits? Are there any benefits that you find that employers are gravitating towards that are helping with that decision?
I think right now it's all about getting them to talk to you. If you can get them to connect with you, you can usually make that connection, right? Your team can talk about your culture, can talk about these things, because people saying that to the individual is way better than them reading it on a piece of paper, right? And so that's the part is if we can get them to talk to you, but get them to you is the case, right? And so, from our standpoint, we deal with a lot of CDL drivers, truck drivers, and technicians. And with that group, we're finding that Facebook seems to be the place that they go to. So we're doing a lot on social media. But also, you're going back to like hitting the pavement and going back to schools, trade schools, places, colleges, that's where kids are at. And then, again, it's just like, I'll slap a sign on anything at this point, now hiring, if we can do that. But if we can get them to the conversation with our team, we're getting pretty good about hooking them in. So reaching out individually over social media or other places is really starting to hit too. But then you got to find out what they're really looking for.
I can put a Restaurant Technologies bumper sticker on my vehicle.
Done. I'll give you $6.
Jessica, how about you?
Yeah, I won't give away what this method is, and I want Curtis to take it. But our best idea, our best recruiting initiative this year came from one of our employees in our contact center. And we took a moment to ask, we want to find people to work next to you. Where are you? What suggestions do you have? And that is where the best idea came from this year. And so I think it's so critical that, yes, we certainly have a seat at the table in trying to be part of the strategy and figure it out, but talk to your employees. Where are they going? What groups are they part of that, they can bring that forward to help as part of this. So engage with the employees, and they might just have the golden ticket idea.
Yeah, referrals, I think, are still the biggest pusher of new employees coming to your organization. So,
Great. It's interesting. I feel you made a comment about just that first contact, and it feels like I used to work in the academia world, and it was all about if we can just get them to campus, there's like an 85% chance they're going to matriculate, right? But it's getting them to campus. It's kind of the same thing, right? How do we just have that first conversation? And I think as employees look at the different employers where they might want to work, what have you seen? Let's zero in. Let's zero in on benefits specifically. How are you getting creative? Like we've talked about in the industry, like really fun benefits like a lifestyle spending account, or you get to work from home, which used to be really cool. Now everyone almost has to offer that. So benefits-wise, what are you seeing as the best option that's really kind of attracting that? Or at least one, and I don't want to forget, we're also talking about retaining employees, right? Because that's the thing, right? Everyone's getting lured away with new opportunities. So what have you seen so far?
I mean, we've always been a great employer of benefits, but medical is the biggest for us. I mean, that's obvious for a lot of employers, but we try to just make sure we maintain that single dollar cost per month and have great medical coverage. And we also do day one eligible enrollment. So I think that helps a lot for our employees if they're year-round, full-time. We have day one effective benefits. So that continues.
I want to add to the next question. Are there any benefits you've had to adjust to like, right, oh, you don't get benefits until 90 days, and now it's like, oh, you can get benefits a day. Is there any adjustment to benefits, or you feel you're all positioned well?
You know, one of the interesting things as we transition to this full work from home model has been different states or even different cities. Like think of San Francisco, there are different regulations. We just made an offer to someone in Hawaii. They only offer a handful of insurance platforms. So now we have to go and figure out. So it's just little moments like that as we're in this brave new world of recruiting across the nation, trying to figure out those different pieces that can pop up versus state and even local regulations and different pieces.
And we're even throwing in incentives for our employees, like, hey, go get your yearly physical, which seems pretty simple, right? But hey, here's money off your premiums from the next year. We'll help pay some money towards that, or we'll put money into your HSA account. Whatever's gonna work for to get them to that point, so that they are trying to stay healthy on that side. And so I think you'll see a lot of these incentives continually come across the board too.
I swear I heard HSA in there.
It's in there. I said it. Yeah, we have one. Yeah, and match and everything.
I love it. Let's talk about. I mentioned it earlier. The hybrid work model, the work from home. It feels like there's been a big shift in what working from home, the perception of working from home, and now the expectation potentially of working from home. And obviously that's going to depend on the type of role you're hiring for. Crystal Sugar obviously doesn't apply to every position there, but maybe some. How have you seen that? Have you seen that been an increase in expectation during recruitment at all for any of your positions? Curious.
Yeah, I think we at WEX had about 250 employees that were full-time work from home pre-COVID, and so that really set us up for success in knowing how to interview and hire and onboard someone remotely. And now we're at the point of how do we increase this experience, right? How do we increase the engagement and the connection, and you're really focusing kind of on that piece of it. But very much top of mind. I think there are some people who really are looking for roles that's in an office. There's some people who are just, they're done working from home. And other individuals that this is their new work-life balance. They love throwing food in the crock pot and having it ready, or not having to deal with traffic to get to work, all those pieces. And so it's continuing to identify how do we support both models, in that hybrid fashion, and make that a successful experience for everyone.
It kind of feels like the future. Like you said, supporting both models. Is that just the way it is?
I think so. I think someday we're going to be telling our kids about how we went to work with 499 other people and we all had potlucks. Like that's going to be what we're going to be describing, right?
And the IT guy always bought a bag of Cheetos or Doritos, right?
They show up to the other ones.
Right.
Got the floater. I always find the oven potluck.
I don't know that I see us ever back to where we were, and I think that's exciting and it's challenging. And so we, as a platform, we have to get ready for that and evolve with that and bring our employees along with us.
And we have 41 different locations all across the U.S., and those are mainly in-person places. Again, it's truck drivers and technicians going out and working on things. But our corporate office is about 300 people, and we're kind of shifting the space because more and more people are staying home to making spaces for them to come into for meetings. So if you want to come in, kind of getting rid of all the desks and making it more of like a hangout space where they can come in and brainstorm and think about different things. So you're maybe not in the office all the time, but there's still I think, benefit of if you are able and you are in the vicinity to go in and meet with your team physically in some way, shape, or form, and more flying in people for that as well to be able to do that. So that's transitioning a little bit on that side too. Just because you don't have so many bodies in the office, you can get creative with your space.
Yeah. Something that I always used to hear, especially when I would chat with HR professionals, is, right, culture is an important part of what we look for, right? We want someone who fits our values. Now with this competition, do you feel the pressure to bend on those things, right? Because the candidate pool is a lot harder to get. Are you feeling any pressure to stay true to who you are as an organization, what you stand for? And at some point, does something have to give? I know it's a tough question, but it's the first thing that popped in my mind when you have a smaller pool of candidates to choose from. What gives, right? Where do you have to bend maybe to fit that?
I guess I say no, because if they're not going to fit to our values, they're not a good fit for our company. So the value side is that's who you are as an organization. That's your soul of your organization. Sure. And if you don't see any bending on that, like you said, the other things you can maybe work with. Right. Benefits, and this flies really loud up here, isn't it? It was in your face.
It's making its way around all of us.
Whoever's talking, you talk then. But no, I think those are set. That's the backbone, the soul of your organization, and so I don't see any bending on that.
Yep. Anyone else? Any comments on that?
I would say it's kind of helped us also to become better as a company for the culture. We're trying to make sure we're communicating. That's a big, huge thing with our culture of communication from top down to all of our employees. That's been a big thing for whoever it is. They just want to be a part of the whole company and know what's going on. So monthly meetings throughout the company just to know how the business is doing, as well as that one-on-one manager to employee one-on-one meetings. I guess we have ensured that all of them are getting those meetings and communication.
That's a great point on the transparency, because to be able to keep that retention, they have to feel like they know what's going on in the organization and being a part of it. So transparency from your leadership down throughout the whole organization so that people are in the know of things that are actually happening.
That's great. So as you talked about kind of having to pivot real time, as you look into the next year, where do you see those pivots taking place? As you figure out a pipeline of candidates you have to fill, as there's this, not only do you probably have new positions if you're a company lucky enough to be on the grow, but you're also replacing those that just happen with turnover. What is, again, what would be, I don't want to say your one tip, or what do you think you'll focus on the next year to achieve what you need to achieve in terms of getting that talent in the door and staying in the door?
I think really staying close to the employees and gathering their feedback, whether it's through online focus groups or surveys or just even those little pulse surveys, because you're not running into them in the hallway, right? There's that water cooler chat that's missing where maybe they would give you a suggestion or hear feedback on one of your benefit offerings. And so this, staying engaged, connecting with those employees, I think has to be more of a purposeful piece, because again, you're not just running into them in the hallways. And so that's how you're going to find out what's working, what's not working, get that feedback and suggestions. And so just being very purposeful about how you're doing that.
Absolutely. I start with your current employees, just like Jessica's saying, do those pulse surveys, take care of those individuals, because if they leave, it's even harder to replace that. So take care of those folks, ask them the questions, what matters to them, what are things that they want to see, and then that way you have the ability to adjust as it moving forward. If you ask us what next year looks like, we'll tell you next week. We have no idea at this point in time. You have a general idea that you got to prepare for, but it could be.
There's going to be people involved.
Usually, and probably bringing them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. How about you, Amy? Anything that you see as you adjust and kind of turn your knobs to figure out how to prepare yourself for the next year?
I just think pay is going to be the biggest challenge. I mean, you can walk across the street and get $1 more an hour, and that's going to be the biggest challenge for most employers. Is pay is the biggest thing that employees are looking for. So trying to make sure we can actually fill those positions with actually making a profit.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, because I feel like the priorities for employees is probably always 5 at the top: pay, benefits, work from home, culture. I feel like these things kind of move and flow as the environment and the climate of the world changes. What do you feel like if I had to put you on the spot, what's still the most important thing? I know you talked about pay. Jessica, Curtis, do you feel like, is that what you're seeing? Is pay the lever? Is anything else that's getting them to?
I think in my industry, pay is a big one of it too, but also it's growth opportunity within the organization. It used to be, hey, tell me about your culture, tell me about your organization, and now it's like, wait, what's my career path in these interviews? You know, so people are coming in not wanting to know what their next step is going to be within the organization. So if you can kind of paint the picture of opportunity or growth, that's something that we're seeing a lot of our candidates look for as well.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you all three. A lot of tough questions thrown at you. Great job with the responses. Great job chasing off those flies. Thank you so much. So give them a round of applause, everyone. Huh?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.